morning, my name is Lauren and I'm the maker behind Vintage Knitting Party. Welcome back to another podcast episode. It is the end of April and that means it's time again to share with you everything that I've made during the month. I really look forward to these podcast episodes because not only is it a chance for me to share everything with you that I've been making, but it's also really nice just to ramble for a while. I'm quite a talker. I love to process things verbally, and sometimes I feel like with other videos, I really want to be concise and get the point across, which I also don't always do, but I just feel like these podcast episodes are just such a nice opportunity to chat and get to know you guys better and talk about all the things that have been happening. I'm sorry about the birds. They're just super active today. My neighbor was also literally screaming this morning, so I was really worried I wouldn't get a chance to record this at all, so thankfully that stopped. I have a lot to share with you guys today. Today I am wearing a thrifted outfit. My sweater and my skirt are both thrifted, and then this cardigan I made this using secondhand wool that I got from the op shop. I found a sweater's quantity of balls for a pretty reasonable price. I don't remember it being wildly inexpensive, but definitely reasonable, otherwise I wouldn't have bought it. And the pattern is actually from the 1980s, so it's this really fluffy lace pattern cardigan with a little V-neck, and I've just sewn some buttons on there that I also got secondhand. So I love this one. It is extremely warm and we're only just starting to come into the cold weather though, so you'll probably see me take it on and off during the video. That's fun. Today is an extra exciting episode because for the first time in Vintage Knitting Party history, I have 3 finished objects for you. As you can see, there's a real theme going on with the colors here. So I have 3 finished sweaters here, although I didn't start any of them in April. So this lighter purple lilac-y one I started in February. It's DK weight yarn. It's knit on 4mm needles, so it went fairly fast. And then the other 2 are vintage patterns, so they are both knit on 3.25mm needles. This really true mauve, dusty purple color, I actually started in 2021. And I only just knit the sleeves, so I'll get into that. And this one I started I definitely started it a few months ago, but I knit most of it in March on my honeymoon, and I only just finished the sleeves for that. So let's get into it. Let's do this properly. I'm just going to start from the one on the top. Okay, we've lost the cardigan already. It's way too hot. If you watched my last podcast episode, you saw that I was really close to having this one finished. I had done the body, an entire sleeve, and I had just started on the second sleeve, and now it is all done. I absolutely love this one. I made a reel trying it on with all different outfits, which I will insert. I just am in love with this sweater. I think it's so beautiful. Now let's talk about a few things and just run over the basics of this sweater again. I'll be fairly brief because I did talk about all of this last month, but the pattern is the Conga Sweater, which you can see here. This is available in my web store. It's a true 1940s vintage knitting pattern, and I absolutely love it. It was originally published by Patterns and Baldwin's, and I modified the pattern just in the size. I put just a couple of extra stitches in the sleeves just to make them a little bit more loosey-goosey, and I added 8 stitches. I added 8 stitches to each the front and the back, so an extra 16 stitches in total, because the gauge of the sweater was 8 stitches to the inch, and I wanted to add 2 inches on top of the 36-inch bust measurement that this one came in, because I am closer to a 38-inch bust. So I'm really happy with how the sizing came out. What would I like to talk about with this sweater that I didn't last time? I knit it all in the round and bottom up until I got to about the armholes. Then I had to split for the arms and knit it flat, the front and the back separately. So I seamed it at the top of the shoulder here, and then I picked up for the stitches around the neck and knit that on circular needles. I then knit the sleeves also in the round, and I knit them separately and then seamed them on as well. So you can see that little seam there. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. It's nice and neat. I'll share a photo here of what the sleeves looked like when they were flat. Or I guess like in the round, but before they had been seamed onto the rest of the sweater, because I thought the shape of the sleeve head was really interesting. When you're shaping the sleeve, when the sleeve pattern piece is flat, most sleeve heads will rapidly decrease so that you've almost got this flat shelf at the edge of the sleeve, and then you kind of decrease more slowly to round it off, and then you have like a curved shape at the top of the sleeve head. This one is different. So if the sleeve pieces were flat, you know, like if this is the sleeve, they decrease evenly straight away. So you go up like a triangle and then gradually shape off the top of the sleeve head to be more like a curve. And I just found that really interesting. I was really curious about what it would end up looking like. What it actually did that I found once I seamed the sleeve onto the sweater was that it really contributed to the lovely wrinkles that are along the top of the arm, I suppose, like around the bicep. You can see in the pattern photo that there's some lovely like bunching of the sleeves. She's wearing it with the sleeves kind of pushed up to her elbows, and it just looks really casual, really relaxed, but really, really pretty. And I think mine turned out exactly like it was meant to. I'm really, really happy with this. I didn't really make any other changes to the pattern. I think the only thing I might have done was knitted it a bit longer in the body because I'm quite tall. But honestly, it's still quite cropped. So I would probably recommend doing that anyway. I've already been wearing this sweater a lot and I'm really, really happy with how it came together. I did have a lot of questions about the yarn, mostly on Instagram, so I thought I'd share the tag with you just so that you could have a look. I have had a little peek on the internet and I don't think I can find any more of this, but I do have quite a bit left over, so I'm hopefully going to be making a vest out of the same yarn. This is what the ball band looks like. Bellissimo knitting yarn. So the ball band says that it's made in Italy. There are 328 yards to 50 grams, which is heaps. That's so much. I think that usually it's 400 meters to 100 grams for normal fingering weight yarn, and this is about 600 meters to 100 grams, which is a lot. So I'm not surprised that I had so much of this left over, which was great. It does say to use a 6 or 6.5 mil knitting needle. That's their little recommendation that they've got in the ball band, and I don't know about that. That would make a really, really loose gauge for me, but maybe that is what the yarn was intended for. Maybe they had a pattern written that went with this brand of yarn that they were meant to match, but it is 48% wool, 43% polyamide, and 9% acrylic. So it does feel very soft, I guess because of that acrylic content, but it's really nice and warm too. Like it's literally the perfect sweater. I can't stop thinking about it. It's so light and airy. I think it would be so convenient to take traveling because it just wouldn't weigh anything. I haven't measured the entire sweater altogether, but just the body of the sweater weighed 118 grams, which feels so light to me. That's just literally nothing. So I'm really, really happy with the feel of the yarn. It's really lovely to wear, and I definitely want to make a vest out of it as well because I think this color I would wear a lot in a vest. Now for the second sweater that I have to talk about. This one is so exciting to me. Here she is. Yay! So pretty. I love it so much. Look at this lovely sweater. Isn't she pretty? So, oh my gosh, where do I even start with this? Okay, we need to start with talking about where this sweater came from in the first place. I have been trawling back through my Instagram, like through my notes, my notebooks, journals, things like that. And I think this was the first vintage knitting project I ever cast on, because this is from the pattern book. This was from the first vintage pattern book that I ever bought. I fell in love with it straight away. It's the Lorne Sweater and it's by Sunglow, who are my favorite pattern manufacturers. And I just fell in love with it when I saw it. I just thought like the zigzags and the bubbles, I thought it was so pretty. I love it so much. So back in 2021, I was super ambitious. I was like, yep, we can do this. This is great. I did the maths for the pattern and resized it to my bust measurement, which was so great. Like I did both the front and the back pieces, and then I just stopped. There are two reasons that I think I put it away. The first, because obviously I had to knit it in pieces, so I couldn't be trying it on as I went, except for when I pinned it to myself. So the first reason I put it away was because of the sizing. I really thought this was too small for me. I just didn't know as much back then. I knew I'd been knitting for quite a few years from modern patterns, but I don't think I fully grasped how much a fingering weight sweater will stretch when you wet block it. Like, especially when everything is together or you have an entire front piece or an entire back piece, if you're blocking it and you're not taking like great care to stop it from stretching out, like it will stretch so much. I wish I had taken a side-by-side photo of a piece that was unblocked and a piece that was blocked to show you what this used to look like, but it was like a scrunched up little ball of knitting. Like it, just because of the bobbles and the lace work and the ziggy-zaggy bits, like there was so much tension on the yarn that it was just so small. So the first reason was the size. To figure that out, maybe at the end of last year when I started my Make, Do and Mend series here on YouTube, which I haven't done one of in a little while, I totally get that. I wrote down every project that I could make out of the materials that I have in my office, and this was one of the projects that I wrote down to mend. So I was like, look, if I'm gonna write this down to mend it, because I was this close to frogging it, and I'm so glad I didn't. I was like, you know, if I'm actually going to be mending this sweater, I need to block it so that I can actually see whether it will fit me. And lo and behold, as soon as I blocked it, it fitted me so well. If anything, it's like loose on me and not super fitted, which is crazy, but I don't know. I think my body's changed in the last couple of years as well. I think I'm still stuck in like my bust measurement being a couple of inches bigger than it is now, and my waist as well, because I'm noticing most things that I make are too big for me. And I don't know, I think it's just because I'm so scared of them being small that I do the calculations and then I'm like, if I have the option of going up or down, say I need to fit a pattern repeat into an inch measurement, I just always go for the bigger option when that's not what I want, because knit fabric is stretchy and a lot of 1940s pullovers are negative ease. I should be going for the smaller option. I should not be going for the bigger option. And yet, here we are. Just for the record, I do love the fit of this. When I persevered, I actually measured like whether I wanted to resize the sleeves or not, and I actually didn't. I kept the sleeves as per the smaller bust measurement of the original pattern, which I think must have been 34 inches. And I'm really, really happy that I did that, because now they just fit perfectly. It's my body type that when I put on weight, I put on more weight around my middle. So it kind of makes sense that my arms are still the same when my bust sort of changes. So anyway, the second reason that I had put it away was because I was really concerned I was going to run out of yarn. Again, that was so not a valid reason, because I have this much left, which is crazy. There's so much here. I haven't weighed it, but this is, I reckon I could get almost a pair of socks out of this. Like, there's heaps. The yarn is something I got secondhand a really long time ago, and I haven't had the ball band for in a really long time, so I'm really sorry. I'm just never gonna remember it. But I did knit the sleeves, so I knitted them as per the instructions, except that the pattern has you knit the ribbing, I think I took out 1/2 inch of the pattern and 1/2 inch of the ribbing so that the sleeves are 1 inch shorter than they should be, because I kind of like shorter sleeves. Like, I've rolled these up. I think that's a lot more flattering on my body shape than the sleeves that go all the way down to my elbow. So I'm really happy I did that, but it means that I've got all this yarn left over, and it makes me really sad that I didn't just keep going with this in 2021. But here we are. So I finished the sleeve last night. I blocked it overnight. I seamed it all this morning. I've tried it on. It's great. This pattern is so interesting because it doesn't actually have any shaping across the neck of the sweater. It's just like you seam it up until a point. I think there must be some very light shoulder shaping, because I do remember there being a point that I seamed up to. And then it's just kind of open, like it just goes across the neck, which is really pretty. And then on one side, it has you put in snaps. So let me show you these snappy snaps. So I ordered these snaps online. This is a really specific color, so I obviously couldn't get a match, but I thought this type of purple was the most complementary, so it would kind of fit in. It wouldn't stand out too much, but it would, you know, it would kind of go with the color, being that it's not the same. There it is undone. These were really easy to install. I just used like the pair of pliers that they came with, and it was super, super easy. There she goes. So funnily enough, I can actually put it on and off without even having to use the snaps. So that's okay. The sleeves just seamed in there really nicely. They fit really well. Sunglow patterns are just so pretty, and I'm so glad that I think this is the first one I've actually finished, which is kind of crazy. Like, I feel like I've been knitting for such a long time, but because vintage knits take ages because they're quite detailed and they're very, very fine, I actually haven't knit that many. So it's crazy to me that this is my first finished Sunglow piece. Is it? It must be. It's super cute. I'll include some footage of me prancing around in it if I haven't already, but this is the Lorne Sweater. It's available in my store. I am absolutely in love with it. There are so many things in my wardrobe that I already want to wear this mauvey purple color with, so I might try to record a little outfit reel like I did with the Conga Sweater as well, because I just think it's so pretty. I actually never used to be a purple person, but now I'm so drawn to this color. Like, even this small rosy dusty pink color that I'm wearing feels very mauvey almost. Like, I don't know. Honestly, I think I blame Kristen from Vine Yarns. She has a podcast here on YouTube, and her style is so on point, and she just talks about mauve all the time, and I just relate very heavily to that. So honestly, I think I've just been influenced by her a little bit, but that's okay. I'm very comfortable with that. And the third sweater that I have to talk about is, of course, my Whitmore sweater. This is by Amy Loudon, who is Tayloress Studio on Instagram. I have put my little label in this one, which I haven't had a chance to do with my other two sweaters yet, but this is my own little brand that I have created specifically just for my handmade clothing. So let's talk about this beautiful sweater. This yarn I got secondhand. It is vintage. It's also a real concoction of lots of different fibers. So it is a blend of mohair, wool, acrylic, and nylon. So it's a lot of everything. It is a little bit itchy, which I didn't realize until it was knit up. And I think I'm realizing that I'm sensitive to mohair, because there are other things that I've knitted with mohair as well, and they also feel a little bit scratchy. I can smell the perfume that I wore last time I wore this. So I finished this early in April. I had just not much left of the sleeve to go at all. That was all I needed to do. I do have a bit of yarn left over. I think I've got two 50-gram balls. So some of those will be going into my scrap crochet granny square blanket. Even though the texture is fuzzy, I think I can slip it in there and it won't stand out too much. So the original pattern is meant to have quite a bit of positive ease. It's meant to be just really beautiful and drapey and loosey-goosey and like nice and oversized. But I think you know as well as I do that if you prefer more vintage inspired silhouette, that tight sweaters just there's something about them. So I knit the size, I think I knit a size small. It was the size that was closest to my bust measurement, while being, it was like the size just above my bust measurement, if that makes sense. But I think because of the yoke being smaller overall, the armpit is really up in my armpit because it's quite fitted instead of being quite baggy and kind of down here. So I think that has made my arms a bit shorter, because I went for the bishop sleeve option, which you just knit quite long and then rapidly decrease and make a nice cuff. But they're just quite short. Like, I don't really get the good bishop sleeve effect because they're so small. So I'm glad I have that leftover yarn. I did go to the trouble of doing a nice sewn bind off, so it's nice and stretchy, but maybe I will go to the trouble of unraveling that and knitting a longer sleeve. Unraveling a cuff and knitting it slightly longer sounds like the most boring thing I've ever heard of in my life. I can't say that I would actually end up doing that, but the intention is there. I have the yarn and I know it would make me enjoy the sweater a lot more, but anyway. So the intention for this sweater, the other two are quite autumnal, quite wintry, whereas this one has kind of been put up in the top of my wardrobe for now because it's very much like a spring summer color. It doesn't really fit with a lot of my autumnal, clothing that I have. I think it would be fine, but it just fits so well with my spring and summer wardrobe with all my light colored linen dresses and skirts and things like that. So I'm really happy to have a sweater for when the seasons start to change, just so that I can still be warm at work when the air conditioner's on and it's really cold in the office, for example, or if I'm out at night, it's nice to have another layer to put on. And this is just such a beautiful pattern. I have become borderline obsessed with Amy. I love her style. I think she's so pretty and feminine, and she just like everything she touches just turns to sparkles. I really want to knit more of her patterns. I really want to knit the cardigan version of this. If anyone's interested in doing that with me, I'm ready. I just have to find the yarn, but I will probably be picking something without mohair next time just to make it a little bit more comfortable. I have one more knitting item to show you, and then I have another segment which I'd like to introduce to the podcast after that, which is kind of exciting, so feel free to stick around if you like. The last item is a pair of socks, and this is officially the only thing I have cast on right now because I just finished my Lorne Sweater this morning. And I have plans to cast on other things, but they're kind of exciting plans and I kind of need to wait just a little bit. So socks may just be what I'm doing for a little while. Now I'm making, oh my gosh, how do I make sense of this? I'm making just a vanilla sock. Here is my one finished unblocked sock. It's very pretty. It's got a lovely little gradient. So you can see the lovely color transition. My little gusset, my little, what do they call this? A waffle stitch heel, maybe? Maybe I'm making that up. I love this pretty green section. And there are just contrasting toes, cuffs, and heels on this one. So nice. And I have started on the second sock, but I haven't gotten very far yet. I have been keeping a vanilla sock like this in the car for times when, like if I have a cancellation at work. I'm a therapist, so sometimes, rarely, but sometimes I run out of admin work to do. So sometimes I have a cancellation and I've got like an hour or so until my next client comes in. Again, very rarely do I not have admin work to do, but sometimes it happens. So I have just been keeping a vanilla sock to work on. My husband and I are also sharing a car at the moment, so if I'm ever going to pick him up from work and I'm 5 minutes early, it's nice to have something to knit on. Honestly, like keeping a pair of socks in the car has been kind of a game changer because I otherwise wouldn't have this pair of socks. Like this has all just happened in little, bits of 5-minute time blocks. I did also take them up to visit my family over Easter. We went to visit my baby niece for the first time. She's the cutest kid I've ever seen. I'm obsessed with her parents. So nice to see them. So I knew that I wouldn't get a lot of knitting done while I was up there, but I had to take a project. So I did cast these on that trip. So yeah, it's been really nice having like a little spare knitting project up my sleeve. I kind of don't count this as a work in progress. You may already know this, but I'm quite a monogamous knitter. I really only like to have one thing on the go at any given time. I get quite stressed otherwise. I don't know why I impose these deadlines on myself and then I just don't know what to do. Like I feel like I'm neglecting one project and then suddenly I've got mess everywhere and then I feel like I'm being wasteful and what if I don't like it anymore? And it's just ridiculous. It just gets out of hand. So it's been nice to have something small but not feel like I've got an extra work in progress. So I have loved knitting on these. I'm really excited to get the second one done. The yarn that I'm using, this is all nicely wound up now so you can see the pretty colours. But this is the Bendigo Woolen Mills multicolored sock yarn. It's it's really lovely. It feels great to knit with. I got this when we were in Tasmania from a little local yarn store, and I kind of just wanted a little souvenir sock yarn, to be honest. I could have bought it online, but I didn't. And when I saw it in person, I just really, really loved it. The contrast is just white. This is from, I think this is a Cascade Heritage sock yarn, which I really like. I really like their yarns. I feel like they last really well. The socks that I have knit out of Cascade have held up really, really well. Like I put them in the washing machine. Sometimes they go in the dryer and they stay completely fine. My husband's pair that I knit him, the Line socks by Rust Knitwear, he wears so much. Like a lot of nights he'll wear them to bed, so they are starting to get quite fuzzy, but that's fine. I don't care about that. So I really, really like the Cascade yarn. This is almost like an off-white. This might be the color called Macadamia, but I bought 2 balls of this when I bought it because I just loved it so much, and I can't believe I've almost used all of it up, just with like tiny little bits of contrast yarn here and there, you know, cuff seals and toes, that kind of thing. I wasn't sure what color to put with this multicolored yarn because there are so many beautiful colors that I could have picked up, but I just feel like the white gives it a really nice background and lets the colors do the talking, and I just think these are so pretty. I picked this to take with us on our Easter trip because the colors just really scream Easter egg to me. They're kind of like pastels, but they're like muted autumnal pastels. So it was the perfect Easter project. I think they're so sweet. I really, really love them. Oh, I did 2 more things. I've knit the cuff in a twisted, like half twisted rib, I think it's called. So it just looks really neat. I really like the way they look, and I kind of, you know, it's a vanilla sock. That's where I cast on, I think. I just wanted something a bit different. And I have also figured out, as a person with a high instep, a 72 stitch count is better for me with vanilla socks. I have gotten past the weirdness of knitting the bigger sock size because I have average size feet. Like I'm like a 38 or a 39 in European sizes, so pretty standard, but it's the instep that gets me. And these are still, like, they still stay on, they're not too big, but I think especially on 9-inch circular needles, I knit so tight. Like I'm just like, I make them so tight, so the tension is out of control, which makes them really nice and stretchy. So I think I have learnt my lesson from knitting socks that are too small for me, and the 72 stitches is really where it's at. There are a couple of other socks that I want to knit in the near future. This one is slightly less exciting because they're actually a pair of socks that I've already knit and I frogged. But I have these 2 yarns that I bought from my local yarn shop, the Yarn Bowl. You can see that one is like spaghetti because I have unwound it. But these are the Coops Knits Sock Yeah DK. I think the camera is showing up both of them as being extremely vibrant, but this pinky color is more like a muted dusky rose, like similar to my sweater, and this is a really like rich, warm, reddy brown kind of color. So I've actually already knit these into a pair of socks, but I knit both of them, I think they were all pink with like brown heels, toes and cuffs. And they were nice, but I had to knit them just a bit too short because I completely ran out of this pink color. And I was just going to keep the leftovers for my little granny square crochet blanket, which I never work on, I just keep hoarding scraps for. But I wore the socks and they were just a bit too short. And I also did that method of joining the yarn where it's like the magic knot, where you tie like 2 knots and pull them and it gets really nice and tense, and then you just cut the ends really close to the knot. That worked so well when I tested it, and I was like, this is amazing, like this is life-changing. I'm never going to weave in an end again in my life. Do not do that on socks. It did not work when I actually did it on the sock. It was awful. They were unraveling left, right and center. Basically anywhere that I joined the yarn, it came apart and I had a hole, and I thought about darning it, but then I was like, they're pretty far gone, like they're gonna keep unraveling. and they were already too short to begin with, so I'm going to re-knit them, but I'm not going to make them both the same. I'm going to alternate them. One of them is going to be mostly brown with the pink cuffs, heels and toes, and the other one is going to be pink with the brown cuffs, heels and toes. So they're just going to be cute little mismatched socks, and they're going to be best friends. So I'm sure I'll have enough yarn. I didn't really like lose too much in the cutting up and frogging process. And I think it's better to have a pair of socks that you actually enjoy wearing and that you love, rather than a pair that is like slowly unraveling and is too short to wear anyway. Okay, the crows are really coming in outside. They are loud, they are mad, they are contributing to the conversation. That's fine, they're allowed to, that's okay. The next pair of socks that I really want to knit as well, because I think after knitting so many sweaters so quickly, like I just really want to slow myself down. There is another sweater that I want to cast on pretty soon that I've been thinking about for such a long time, but I'm going to keep it a tiny bit of a secret because I'm hoping that we can do something exciting with it together. So I'm going to hold off on casting on another sweater immediately, and I'm just going to like churn out some socks, I think. So I really want to make the Rad Radish Socks by Stone Knits. Charlotte is the colorwork queen. I love everything she's ever designed. I've made the Feeling Fruity socks. I started the Magic Toadstool socks, but they weren't as neat as I wanted them to be. I have so many of her patterns because she had a big clearance sale thing one day and I bought like 9 patterns, I think. I bought a lot of patterns. So I really want to make the radish socks. I've got, oh, there's the rest of my macadamia from Cascade Heritage, my sock yarn. I also have the like chocolatey brown color from them. I hand wound these before I got my ball winder, so they're a bit scruffy, but I've got those two. So the brown is going to be most of it. The white is like that background contrast color. I have this nice sagey green color for the leaves. I think that's so pretty. Sorry it's so covered in dog hair. We've had a lot of dogs visiting us lately. And for the radishes themselves, I don't really have like a radish red. These are showing up so vibrant on the camera. These do not look like this in real life, but I've got this really cool like, ooh, that's fluffy. I've got this cool orangey pumpkin spice kind of color. It might even be called pumpkin spice. It's very, very pretty. And then I've got, this is from Cartier Knits, Cartier Yarn, maybe? It's a sock yarn brand, and they just make these tiny, tiny little 25-gram balls, which are so cute. I'm pretty sure they're 25 grams. I don't think they're 50 grams, but they're really lovely. I don't mind them. They're not as soft as the Cascade Heritage yarns, but they're really nice for like little contrast colors, and I can get them for $5 at my local yarn store. So to me, I think radishes are more pink. But if I make a radish sock in this color, like, I don't know, this is too pink. This is raspberry. This isn't radish red. So, but I don't want to buy more yarn because I've got so many. I just don't have like the perfect shade of red. So I don't know what I'm meant to do really, but I really do want to cast them on. Maybe I'll see whether there is another little $5 ball like this that I can get from the yarn shop that is more of a red. Okay, I'm going to look that up after I finish recording this video, but those socks are definitely on the horizon. I just think they're so like cool and wintry, and they're really like cozy colors that I'm obviously really into at the moment as the weather cools down. So I'm probably just going to cast on a couple more socks. If I'm honest, it might just be freaking me out a bit that I finished 3 sweaters in the space of a month, because that's never happened to me before. Like even a modern pattern with a DK weight yarn usually takes me at least 6 weeks to finish, like from start to finish. So I guess I really want to be mindful that that's a lot to be added to my wardrobe so quickly. Like even before I started making my own clothes and I was thrifting a lot of clothes, I would very rarely like buy clothing that quickly, so this feels very fast to me, so I want to be really intentional about slowing that down a little bit, which is hard because knitting is so much about the process. I'm sure it is for you guys as well, but Obviously, like, I love having a finished product. I am the queen of Pinterest boards. I could tell you like exactly the intention that I have for my wardrobe at this time and exactly what I want for it and what I'm missing and what I'm constantly on the hunt for at op shops and what I want to bring into my handmade wardrobe. But I just think there's never any harm in enjoying what you already have at the same time. I guess the main trouble with that is that I love the process of knitting. Like, I just love like having something in my hand. I think the socks will really help with that. I have quite a bit of sock yarn, so I don't think I'm going to run out anytime soon, and I have a lot of sock patterns in my library on Ravelry that I can make. But I think that's enough for the knitting that I am making at the moment. I want to talk about Vintage Knitting Party as a store. I thought it would be really, really cute at the end of the podcast episode, as we're recapping April, to have a talk about what has been happening in the Vintage Knitting Party store for the month. So I can share like some highlights and things that have been happening. So I'm going to get my laptop and chat to you guys about that. So I've got my laptop, I've got the stats. I wanted to talk about what the most popular patterns for the month were, and also new things that have come into the store because I just can't keep them to myself. I obviously love knitting. It's absolutely about the process. It's about having a physical garment in my hands, but I just think that vintage pattern books are so beautiful. It's one of the reasons that I wanted to start uploading them as PDFs, because I just thought they were so pretty and like too nice to keep to myself. So in saying that, the most popular pattern that you guys are accessing by far, which is not a surprise to me, is the rainbow jumper. I actually uploaded this for free in my web store because it came to me for free and it felt wrong to sell it when I didn't pay for it. You know, I didn't even buy the physical booklet myself and I would never have come across it. And it feels wrong to capitalize on something that is just really popular, even though I didn't start that whole thing. But I did want people to be able to access it in the same way that I did, because I was really, really grateful to be able to have it for free when I did. So the rainbow jumper has been super popular. There were two which were fairly popular that I'm not surprised by, so I'll talk about them quickly. One of them is the Conga Sweater that I've shared, that I've just finished, that I just showed you. It's the brown one, the first one with the long sleeves. I'm so not surprised that this was so popular. It's a really classic style, but I think it's really wearable. And the second one that was popular that I've shared is the Feelena Sweater that I just finished like over the summer, maybe, in a light pink color. It's very, very pretty, very pastel-y. I love that one. Someone also finished one of those in blue recently, which was so nice, so, so pretty. The other pattern that was fairly popular in the store this month was one called Highlight. It is a late 1930s pattern with puffed sleeves, an all-over lace design, and this gorgeous frill around the yoke of the sweater, like around the neckline, I suppose. It is so beautiful. This is on my personal to knit list. I absolutely love this one. I think the 1930s is like prime femininity. I love the lace, I love the ruffles, I love the shape, the sleeves, everything. I'm about it. But in terms of new patterns that have come to the store, I'm just going to pick out a couple of my favorites that I want to share with you. One of them from Sunglow is the Lakeside puff sleeve sweater. This is a gorgeous sweater. It has a lovely big piece of color blocking on the top with a lighter colored stripe, and the rest of it is in a beautiful cream color. I think the original pattern has you make the bigger color block in brown, the smaller stripe in red, and the rest in cream. And it's got these lovely buttons with little puffy sleeves. I think this is so, so pretty. I can absolutely see this in that color scheme, and I think, yeah, autumnal colors all the way with this one. I just absolutely love it. Okay, I've got a lot to talk about, I've just realized, so I'm going to talk really quickly. The second new upload that I want to give a little bit of time to is also a Sunglow pattern, and this is from the book series 47. It's just the perfect, most adorable sweater. It's got short sleeves, a really cute little Peter Pan collar, and the whole thing is just polka dots. It's so pretty. There are so many good color combinations I would knit this in. My mind just goes straight to pink and white, obviously. I just think, why not go all the way with just something super pretty and flouncy and gorgeous? But I also could see this in like navy blue and stone. I could see this in like more pastel-y spring sort of colors and like olive green. Like I just think it's so pretty. Love it. Black and white, why not? It's gorgeous. The next one, also from that Sunglow booklet, is called Lighter Moments. And this is such a pretty lace design. I love the little necktie. I think it's so cute. I love the puffy sleeves. These are like true puffy sleeves. They are giant. You absolutely need to put shoulder pads in these. They're completely gorgeous. I love that there's a little bit of ease around the body and then it's nice and ribbed around the waistline, and I like that there's lace details but not across the entire sweater. I just feel like this would be really quick to knit up, but you would feel really satisfied. And obviously I think this would be so pretty in pink. I think it would be so pretty in like a light white or cream, but I can also really see it in mustard yellow. Can't you? Like, wouldn't it just be so lovely? I think it's beautiful. And then the next two that I have to share are specifically from a special summer knitting booklet. The booklet didn't have, like most vintage knitting booklets have a recommendation for yarn usage that is based on the company that is producing the patterns, if that makes sense. So Sunglow knitting books will recommend Sunglow brand yarn. It's basically like patterns to promote their yarn and they go hand in hand and they don't recommend you use anything else. This pattern booklet had cotton recommended for all of the patterns because it's summer knitting, but they weren't from a particular brand. They were just fine cotton or bulky cotton. So I have no idea who this was produced by. Obviously, being from back in the 1940s, there was no indication of copyright. But the first one that I have to talk about is the Bare Midriff top, which is very similar to a really popular pattern that I see bouncing around that I can't think of right now, but absolutely love this one. And the other one is the Riviera cotton summer dress. Ah, this is so pretty. I really want to make this. I would love to knit a dress. I've been talking about this for a long time, but I would love to knit a summer dress. Look at this. This is perfect. It's so beautiful. She looks so classy with her little gloves and her little hat. I absolutely love her. And I would absolutely love to make that one. So those are some of the patterns which I've recently added to the Vintage Knitting Party web store. Feel free to take a look if you like. This segment is obviously a shameless self-promotion, but to be honest, it's mostly so that I can just talk about more patterns and share more beautiful things with you guys. I collect way too many patterns. I have way more than I need or I'll ever be able to knit through, and the next best thing is being able to look through them together with you and seeing how beautiful they are and how inspiring they are, and just being able to study the photographs. Thank you so much for tuning in again, and I will see you next time. Bye!